quote, children are not able to buy alcohol. They're not able to buy marijuana or cigarettes, but they can have access to crack pipes and kits to be able to do so-called safe injection.
Yeah.
It's just wrong. These are the words
outside of kids' schools.
The stepfather of Brianna McDonald, the 13-year-old girl who lost her life to a drug overdose in Abbotsford after she was denied treatment but offered drug paraphernalia by the authorities. When will the agenda close the drug dens, defund unsafe supply, and treat addiction to bring our loved ones home drug-free?
Holy crap.
Mr. Speaker, tragedies like that are unthinkable, and we need to do everything we can as orders of government to bring them to an end, to protect kids, to protect communities, to protect vulnerable people. That's why we work hand in hand with local authorities, with provincial authorities on the plans that will suit them, that will keep communities safe. We know there's not one size fits all solution. We know that ideology isn't the answer. Only the application of science, of compassion, of investments that will help people through this terrible epidemic.
Yo, who's cutting onions, man? That is
of the opposition.
That is tragic.
Speaker, this young girl's family begged hospital treatment for their vulnerable teenager. Instead, she was given drug paraphernalia. This is all part of the radical experiment that the Prime Minister and the NDP have imposed and have contributed to 47,000 drug overdose deaths, with the biggest increases in the places where this approach has been tried. Alberta has reduced overdoses by 50% with treatment. Why won't he follow the science and back the plans that work?
Man, that makes me feel pretty emotional right now.
For anyone puzzled by the link or the not link to
this is tragic
in that question, that was an ad in support of John Rustad, the BC Conservative leader who's about to be in a campaign, the leader of the opposition continues to focus on ideology while we roll up our sleeves, work with partners on delivering solutions for Canadians. We need to lead with compassion and science, and that is what we will always do.
So you offer drugs to freaking minors, bro?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it is federal because this federal Prime Minister has offered a criminal code and Controlled Drugs and Substances Act exemption to allow the drug dens to go ahead, and he has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on tax-funded, unsafe supply that is killing our people and addicting our kids. It's just like on car theft, where he's brought in catch and release and house arrest for career car thieves. Today, he has a chance to reverse himself and vote for Common Sense Bill C-379 to bring in mandatory jail time for career car thieves. Will he do the right thing?
Man, Justin Trudeau is dead on the inside. That's insane.
Speaker, once again, we see a return to the failed Stephen Harper tough on crime policies that don't work, Mr. Speaker. Mandatory minimums struck down by the Supreme Court don't work. What has worked, Mr. Speaker, is increasing the number of scanners after Stephen Harper's government cut them, increasing the investments in policing, in AI to process and discover which containers will have cars in them, to crack down on auto theft, to step up with science and solutions instead of just flailing around and using the same failed Harper playbook.
Right. Scan the cans, baby! Scan the cans.
The Honourable Member from Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, under the Liberals, housing prices in Winnipeg are out of control. The average rent for a one-bedroom suite in Winnipeg increased over 22% since last year, the largest jump in the country. Corporate landlords are buying up affordable housing and jacking up rents because they know they have support of both the Liberals and the Conservatives. Well, I can tell you one thing, Mr. Speaker, they are not the answer to our housing crisis. So my question to the Prime Minister, why is he allowing corporate landlords to price people out of their homes?
Here, here, here.
Man, I'm blown away that Jagmeet isn't there.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I very much look forward to working with the NDP Premier of Manitoba on Renters' Bill of Rights. We just presented a number of measures that will directly help renters, like ensuring that rent is counted towards calculation of credit scores so people can get a mortgage.
That's
by protecting renters from
a somewhat decent idea, but kind of flawed.
I'm sure do the NDP, that is largely a provincial jurisdiction, but I'm very glad to hear that the Premier of NDP, the NDP Premier of Manitoba will be stepping up to work with the federal government on delivering for Canadians in Manitoba and indeed right across the country.
The Honourable Member from Edmonton-Griesbach.
What is in provincial jurisdiction is what's happening in Edmonton-Griesbach, where the federal government is set to bulldoze hundreds of homes in my community so that developers get rich. These homes are on public land and are some of the last affordable units in my city due to decades of Liberal and Conservative cuts. Families like Kim's, a single mom raising a child with a family with a member with a disability, is scared she will be homeless. Will the Prime Minister stop the dem evictions, stop selling off land to rich developers, and build the homes that people can actually afford?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government put forward one of the most ambitious investments in housing that this country has ever seen. And we are happy to work hand in hand with the NDP to make sure that public lands get used for affordable housing, that we're doing everything we can to push back against provinces that are attacking public affordability of homes. We would very much like to continue working with the NDP on this matter. They're choosing to play politics with the Conservatives and put politics first. We're going to continue to work to make sure that his residents in Edmonton-Griesbach and indeed right across the country get better affordability, better homes, because that's what this federal government is focused on, not politics.
The Honourable Member from Kingston and the Islands.
Mr. Speaker, earlier this month, the U.S. Department of Justice revealed that Russia is funneling money to conservative media figures to push their propaganda. This is a clear threat to our democracy and Canada's national security. And yet...
Yeah, you better take the mic away from him.
Please take a seat.
He's got himself a tricky lawsuit here for going after Cat Canada on X, the counter signal.
I would like to
trying to single people out, using his platform to say that certain citizens who have influence on social media are Russian government plants.
So that we can hear the question that's being asked. I'm going to invite the Honourable Member.
She's certainly going to sue his ass good.
The top so that the Speaker can hear the question. And I ask all members to please hold with their comments. The Honourable Member from Kingston and the Islands.
Mr. Speaker, earlier this month, the U.S. Department of Justice revealed that Russia is funneling money to conservative media figures to push a far-right propaganda. This is a clear threat to our democracy and Canada's national security. And yet, the leader of the Conservative Party is directing his MPs to block the Public Safety Committee's study on this real issue. Can the Prime Minister tell this House what our government is doing to protect Canadians from this very real threat of foreign interference?
You have 11 traitors in Parliament right now. What? Name the 11 MPs, you psychopath. What the fuck? Make it make sense, folks. This is crazy. Wow. Name the 11.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for Kingston and the Islands for his advocacy on this unbelievably important issue. It's extremely alarming that Russia is pushing its propaganda in our democracy, but even more appalling that they are using far-right Canadian conservative influencers to divide Canadians.
Name some names.
All stand against this. I call on all parties, including the Conservative Party of Canada, to stand up and investigate these allegations and follow up on it. Let it get through.
Name the names. Name the names.
Order.
Watch Pierre just
The Honourable Leader
shout out a bunch of YouTubers.
Years of
How about new guy, eh? Being introduced to this? Stronghold Stewart. Welcome to the zoo, pal.
Then I have
the honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. The Prime Minister appointed a special envoy to fight Islamophobia, and she felt that her terms of reference included criticizing Quebec's universities for not providing for student security. Perhaps we don't see Islamophobia in the same way, because some would say that this position is, strictly speaking, a liberal activist and political position. So I'd like to ask the Prime Minister, what is his definition of Islamophobia? Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Put him in a tough spot here.
The government recognized that there was a rise in intolerance of all kinds all across the country, and we had a duty to recognize that and fight against it. That's why we appointed a special representative against Islamophobia and also a special rep against anti-Semitism. And we also recognize systemic discrimination in our institutions. So we have lots of challenges to face in bringing Canadians together and in addressing our challenges together to create a more peaceful and respectful country, the country that we now have.
Who you've divided.
Honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. This is no small thing. The Prime Minister does not know the definition of Islamophobia. Does he think that without a definition, criticizing Quebec universities reduces Islamophobia somehow? Or does it rather polarize Canadians and pit them against one another? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Whoa, man.
The member opposite knows full well I am a proud Quebecer, and I am proud that the Liberal Party of Canada has more Quebec members than the Bloc Québécois does. So we are proud Canadians, proud Quebecers, and we know that in every institution all across country there are challenges around racism, systemic discrimination, and so on, and we need to address those issues, and that's the work we're doing, because we know everyone should feel included and respected within our country, and unfortunately we're seeing a rise in intolerance all across the country. So it's our duty, all of our duties, to come together and listen to one another. The Honourable Member.
All right, come on.
Mr. Speaker,
where's Jagmeet?
Conservative governments are privatizing our health care. They want people to have to pay to see a doctor, and it's no different in Quebec. But this Prime Minister is too weak to stand up to the Conservatives, and the people are the ones paying the price. What's it going to take for him to stand up to defend the principles of universal public health care?
Jagmeet's outside fighting with Canadians. No doubt. Picking fights. Say that to my face.
Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we all know that the NDP is concerned about progressive values all across the country, but they can't deliver the goods. We were happy to work with them to deliver concrete things in healthcare, in childcare for Canadians, but unfortunately, they're the ones who decided to stop delivering the goods for Canadians. Progressive things are not always easy to accomplish, but we will continue fighting to do so. We will continue to defend our public health care system, and we will keep investing in the Canadian system. But unfortunately, the NDP can't say the same.
The honourable member for Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
They are failing on health care and they are failing on groceries, because 1 year ago today, the Liberals met with Canada.
Man, that's crazy.
And promised to
Jagmeet
prices.
Has shown up less for work this week than Justin Trudeau.
CEOs are still gouging families struggling to put food on the table. Meanwhile, the Conservatives remain silent on grocery greed, and they want to give even more taxpayer money to these CEOs. Canadians are fed up. They are working harder and falling further behind. Why does this Prime Minister keep caving to CEOs while Canadians pay the price?
Hear, hear! The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the NDP is taking a page out of the Conservative playbook and choosing slogans rather than the hard work that will actually help Canadians. Right. We've delivered some of the most comprehensive reforms to the Competition Act in order to hold big grocers account for the work that they're doing in terms of delivering for Canadians. We've also moved forward on a national school food program that's putting more food in the bellies of 400,000 kids across the country as provinces come on board, and is going to save parents up to $800 on their grocery bills. These are things tangibly that we're busy delivering while they're playing politics.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. The Opposition.
La semaine dernière.
Last week, a woman was stabbed near a hard drugs injection site.
Oh, dude, there's so many stories of people getting stabbed and dying in Canada.
This tragedy could have been avoided if the Prime Minister had accepted what I asked around 3 months ago. I asked for hard drug injection sites to be closed and for money to be invested in drug treatment. Will the Prime Minister finally close down this hard drug injection site, which is right near a school?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to begin with.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, all Canadians deserve to live in safe communities, and that is a responsibility we take seriously. But part of taking a challenge like this seriously is listening to experts and listening to people working on the front lines of the opioid and toxic drug crisis in order to help people to get through these difficult times. Yes, we need to invest in help for these people. We also need to invest in ways to protect Canadians. We will base what we do on science and evidence, not on ideology and politics. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, I would like the Prime Minister to tell me from what date to what date he was part of the National Assembly of Quebec. I don't seem to recall it, but if all of the parties here want to fight Islamophobia and polarization, they should consider adopting legislation tabled by the Bloc Québécois, which would put an end to the religious grounds for hate speech. Will the Prime Minister accept that before it's too late for him? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, the leader of the Bloc Québécois keeps insisting on this. But he has just said very clearly that federal MPs from Quebec have less legitimacy than members in the National Assembly of Quebec. Well, I might really ask myself, hell, what is the Bloc Québécois doing here if they have so little legitimacy? I would like to invite the Prime Minister to withdraw this unparliamentary language.
Holy shit! He snapped at the block.
To express his point. He has 10 seconds left. Mr. Speaker, I'm being very clear. We are here to defend Quebec's interests in Ottawa at the federal level. I don't know what my colleague is even doing here if he doesn't think he has legitimacy to speak for Quebec.
Wow! He just broke parliamentary language twice. You know, honestly, the Bloc, they do a lot of attacking, but they don't get it. And it's kind of cool to see Trudeau take shots at him.
I would just like to ask the Prime Minister to withdraw the unparliamentary language. And the Right Honourable Prime Minister said, I withdraw the word. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Oh, the Right Honourable Prime Minister. No, I'm sorry. I used the expression mot comprendre to describe what I said, but that's not accurate. I used a different word. I would like to withdraw that.
Trudeau is trolling him.
Well, perhaps I was not clear, or perhaps Mr. Trudeau... No, I'm sorry.
Did he just blow him a kiss?
Yes, I know.
I wish
the Honourable Member...
this was happening in English.
He is a very experienced member. Of course, he made a mistake. I would invite him to start over again and to respect the rules of this place. Yes, I withdraw that vulgar language.
All right. They got some funnies up their sleeve.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is living proof that we need to do more to protect French because he didn't understand what I said. I would like Parliament to adopt legislation that would put an end to religious exemptions. He is a Quebec MP here in Ottawa. He should pay attention to the fact that this is what Quebec wants.
Whoa, religious exemptions.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, in our federal system, the reality is that we have Quebec MPs elected to represent Quebec. And they do that in Quebec, in the National Assembly, but they can also represent Quebec in Ottawa and represent other Canadians as well. As a proud Quebecer, I will continue to do my job to protect my constituents in Papineau, and I will also be there to pay close attention to the well-being of the entire country.
Chef de l'opposition.